Okay.
Okay, let's go. We have to be fast this morning. Gil, welcome to my podcast. First of all, you can tell me something about yourself.
Hello, I'm Gil. I came from Portugal. One of my main activities is working as a sports journalist. I try to write about the things that are going on the Portuguese championship, of course, and picking the eye to some international affairs such as the World Cup and undoubtedly the Portuguese. What happened to Portugal in this World Cup? Besides that, I have other activities, but I'm all the time looking to see the sports analysis and to pick all the details in order to make a good work as a sports journalist.
Okay, let's start with main topic.
Yeah.
Tell me what's happened with Portugal in quarterfinal versus Morocco and in this World Cup.
In Portugal against Morocco happened something that didn't happen before. Portugal in a disadvantaged situation. Of course, I'm not counting what happened in the South Korean match. It was on the last minutes. Portugal team has been developed in order to push the team forward, and this has been happening since the defeat against Serbia. After the defeat against Serbia in the qualification, Fernando Santos realized that it was needed to make some changes, and the main changes occurred on the goal. We needed a goalkeeper with more skill in the foot. So Diogo Costa entered the team following his great performance that he's making in FC Porto. And then, of course, in this World Cup, one main tactical point occurred in the Portuguese team. Only one player on the position 6 as a defensive midfielder. First Ruben Neves, then William, and I think against Morocco, this doubt between Neves and William became a serious problem because after William made an exceptional performance against Switzerland in the game of 6-1, Fernando Santos changed to Ruben Neves in order to add more depth to the game and try to make a more direct game that could hurt more the Moroccan. But I think that this kind of change, this kind of behavior really changed the face of the Portuguese team, transformed the Portuguese team into a more mechanical team instead of a more creative team. And I think this was the main mistake or the main doubt that following some individual mistakes, therefore went for a defeat that no one was expecting against Morocco. And I think that you cannot change your face you cannot change your face. If you are stronger, you have to deal with it, and you have to put in mind that you have more power, and if things occur normally, you will succeed and you will go on.
Okay, but after the victory over Switzerland, everyone thought that Portugal could win the title.
I think it was an overreaction because, of course, that Portugal was giving good answers in the forward line, and I think Gonçalo Ramos, when he entered the team against Switzerland, the main idea is to attack the space. He's very, very skilled and he's very good attacking the space, providing some tools to the game that Ronaldo cannot add on this particular moment of his career. But 6-1, I think it was an exaggerated result. Switzerland dominated the game in the first 15 minutes. Then Ramos had that fabulous moment when he puts Portugal into until 1-0, and it is a fact when Portugal took the advantage. Then Portugal becomes a very powerful team, a very solid team. The game breaks. You see some sort of a chaos on the game. When you see that chaos, Portugal is able to deal with it very well and to make more damage to to the opponent. So when Portugal took the lead, it is a very dangerous team, in my opinion.
Okay, on the match versus Morocco, should Ronaldo have stayed on the bench or played from the first minute? Is it a mistake?
It is a very hard answer to give, because Ramos scored 3 goals, and when a player scores 3 goals, of course that his confidence is on top, and if the confidence is on top, of course that the coach is naturally that puts in on the first lineup. But according to the characteristics of the game against Morocco, if you look for that, and if you put Ruben Neves with that idea to explore the depth, to explore a more direct game, then you have to put. And if Morocco plays with a line of defenders that are very tall and very low, then you need a player that is better with the head, better on the finishing, exploring the finishing area. And I think the fact that Ramos scored 3 goals against Switzerland was not very good news for Portuguese team, because he had to play, but the game against Morocco was not the better game for Ramos to play. It was a game for Ronaldo to play and to explore that little tiny spaces and a more direct game that I think it would cause more damage to the Morocco team. And when Ronaldo entered at 51 minutes, Portugal became more dangerous, in my opinion.
What will be with Ronaldo in next few years in national team?
I think Ronaldo can play more 2 or 3 years for the Portuguese national team. He stills very little in the finishing areas, exploring the finishing areas. Of course, that the space is being more and more tiny, because he doesn't have the explosion, he doesn't have the speed, he doesn't have the ability to make some unbalancing to the game like he did before. He's now a more area player, but as you can see, he finishes with the right foot, left foot, with the head. He keeps, when he gains his confidence again, I think when he gets more calm after this whole situation in Manchester United, and of course in the Portuguese national team, he will recover the confidence levels. And I think not with the performance that he did before. I think it is impossible to be the same player that he was before, but I think he can still be a very useful team to the Portuguese national teams. Not always being on the first 11. Of course, we have to manage the situation, but he can be very useful, and he can keep scoring lots of goals for the Portuguese team. I'm sure about it.
What do you think about Rafael Leao on the bench? He was good performance on pitch, but he was also on the bench.
He's a player with lots of acceleration, with instant acceleration. I think the only comparison we can make at the international level is Mbappe, but he's some sort disconnected with the old Portuguese team. He's very good making the unbalancing to his speed, but then he has some difficulties making the proper definition to serve the colleagues and to be more effective for the Portuguese national team. Against Spain on the Nations League, he made a mistake that permitted the right defender of Spain, I can't remember who it was, to cross the ball to finish and to give the win of Spain on the last minute. He has some defensive problems. He's not really, he's an outstanding player in my opinion, but he needs to be more work in terms of the collective idea of the Portuguese national team. But as I said to you before, when Portugal crashes the game, when Portugal took the lead, and when the game has more space due to the risk that the opponent is taking in order to recover from the disadvantage, Leão is a very useful player. He's a fantastic player because he explores the space. He appears from the left to the inner zones of the field, and he makes the difference like he did against Switzerland. But he needs to be more work in terms of collective context, in my opinion.
Okay, what will be with the Santos? Will he get fired?
I think the best way to answer that is that Portugal has all the conditions to start a new cycle again. Portugal, after the game against Serbia, it took a different idea from the original one. Before Serbia, Portugal was staying with the same idea that won the Euro Cup in 2016. So playing with more defensive perspective, playing with a perspective that was taking the opponent's idea to block their stronger points and then to rise in that scenario. But as you can see, players like Renato Sanches, for instance, that was the best player against Serbia, but he's a player disconnected with the Portuguese idea of play. He's a player that gives to the match lots of offensive transitions, violent offensive transitions. But this is not the motto of the Portuguese national team. And after Serbia, Fernando Santos gave the idea of a game with more passes, pushing the team forward, taking a bit the risk. And it was a big compliment that I have to make to Santos, because he was not stubborn and he understood he had to change. And this is a characteristic of an intelligent person. But I think right now the conditions are created to Santos to be replaced, because there are good conditions for the Portuguese to keep developing on this second idea of a more offensive and an attractive way of playing. So instead of having a coach that has a more prudent idea, I think we must have a coach that naturally and genetically has an idea of game that takes more the risk. And I think we should go for this way of a coach that naturally has this second idea of game, that I think it can be more useful for Portugal in this particular moment.
What do you think about Jose Mourinho as the next options?
I have my particular idea. Being a half-time coach at Roma and at Portuguese national team, if that confirms, I think it's not the best way to deal with the situation. We need a full-time manager. But I think in Portugal, this is not a big crisis, because fortunately, the best thing we have in Portugal is the quality of the Portuguese coaches. So if Jose Mourinho doesn't come, we have many solutions to be calm and to be completely confident regarding the future. So I think it will not be my first option, but I think things have the conditions to go on. This is not a problem for the Portuguese national team, I'm sure.
Yeah. What is the atmosphere in Portugal now after FIFA World Cup?
People are disappointed, of course, that you see a team with so much talent. You see players with so much talent, like João Félix, like Bernardo Silva, like Bruno Fernandes, Ronaldo, of course. You have defenders with top level, like Cancelo, like Dalot, like Pep, like Rubén Dias. A young player that is rising in the Portuguese Championship, like António Silva. He was on the bench, and Nuno Mendes was a big lack to the Portuguese team. He was a player very important, giving speed to the left side of the Portuguese team. It was very concerning. It was a bad news that he got injured and didn't. And Guerreiro, although he's very good exploring the central areas of the field, but he is not so powerful exploring the sides. It was some sort of disappointment that he got injured. But I think people are disappointed because they wanted some more. I think we have the conditions to reach another step and to reach for more titles. And people, of course, that are disappointed because Portugal lost on the last minute against Spain on the Nations Cup. Disappointed because we had to go to the playoff due to the defeat against Serbia, and this sequence of events, sequence of little defeats are pushing the population a bit more unconfident, and of course they want the replacement of Santos.
What would you change in the national team of Portugal for next matches?
I think this second idea of game is. I think we need to really present an attractive game, and to be aware that we have lots of tools in order to provoke damage to 90% of the opponents. I think if you see the Portuguese quality, we are on the 4 or 5 best teams in the world with quality, with talent. So I think it's not time to make a change. It's not time for a revolution. It's time to pick and to grab that second idea of game that Santos introduced to the Portuguese idea of game, and he did it quite well. And to keep developing the team. For instance, keep playing with only one player at the position of the defensive midfield. Keep being more aggressive, reacting to the loss with the introduction. The introduction of Otavio, that is a player that can make different roles on the pitch, and keeping this idea, not making a revolution, being very smart. And I think this is not a time for big changes. It's time to keep developing with the other head thinking, and this other coach can give the little details that can push the team more forward. And of course, with a second coach, with the coach not with Fernando Santos not on the on commanding the team, I think people will get more confidence, and will of course that you need to have the supporters on your side. And I think this kind of machine can be the key to the Portuguese success in the near future.
We have 3 more matches in this FIFA World Cup. What do you think, who will win?
France, I think, is the strongest team. I think they are keeping a good path since the defeat in 2016. I think in 2016 final France against Portugal, France didn't took the best options, mostly on the extra time, when they had opportunity to replace some players that were very tired, and Santos was very clever on that time and did the proper substitutions, and Portugal won that final by details, and due to the coach intelligence on that particular moment. But although France has been defeated, they kept the same way of development that took them to the 2018 World Cup, a World Cup that was marked by the offensive transitions, and France is very adept to that style of play. France is a melting pot of ideas in the same team. They have nowadays they have a very strong midfield that controls all the rhythms of the game. They can introduce lots of speed to the game with Dembélé and Mbappé, and give lots of intensity, and then balancing the game quite often. They have a forward Giroud that is very smart at first touch, and appearing on the finishing lines with lots of efficiency. And analyzing all the teams, I think France has the best conditions to win. Of course, that Argentina has Lionel Messi. That is a great storm in the situations of unbalancing the game, 1 against 2 and 1 against 3. They have a team that grew a lot after the defeat against Saudi Arabia. And Morocco, I think they are very solid. They defend quite well. Only Canada scored a goal against Morocco. It's very hard to enter on that particular line of defense that is very solid and plays very well together, giving no space to the opponents. But I think France is a little bit a step ahead of all the other teams. And if I had to put my money on one team, I would put my money on France.
Argentina can be champions, and Messi would be great all of the time. It's bad news for our people from Portugal and Ronaldo's fans.
Of course, in my opinion, two different types of play. That is the most common idea. But I think Messi it's outstanding, and I think it's the more skilled player that has ever played, giving imbalance to the game. Not only in finishing, but he provokes so many passing lines to his teammates, and he makes an invisible work that is a player from other planet, and I think we have to clap him and to cheer him up, because I don't know if he's the greatest of all time, but I'm sure he's one of two or three greatest of all times. I'm a huge admirer of Messi. Although we have Ronaldo, and of course in that tiny battle between Ronaldo and Messi, we as Portuguese want Ronaldo to beat Messi, but that doesn't blind our minds, because of course that Messi and Ronaldo says that all the time, and he's very respectful of about that. Messi is of course a genius of football. We have to. It's a pleasure for me to have the possibility of seeing him playing, because I think he's the player that provokes more unbalancing to the game, and he's quite outstanding about that. He's completely from other planet player, and I think right now perhaps he's still the best player in the world.
Okay, my last question. Can you tell me your top 11 players of this FIFA World Cup?
Messi, as I said before, Mbappe. I really like Hakimi from the Morocco national team. He's a very creative. He's a very top right defender when he pushes the game. In Portuguese national team, I really like João Félix. I think he made a clear application to be the replacer of Ronaldo in the further times. As Ronaldo, he shares this good ability of finishing with left foot, right foot, not as effective on the head, but he's a very top player exploring the finishing lines. So I really like the goalkeeper of Morocco. I think he's really making the difference in all the games. I really like the Saudi Arabia team with this collective way of playing. They were very curious, and by my head, just trying to remember more players that were important. Let me see. For instance, Harry Kane, I think he's been in a top level at the English side, and of course,
you need more defenders. You need defenders.
Yes, I need defense. I'm trying to remember you. I'm trying to push.
Maybe Guardiola from Croatia. Maybe.
Yes. Although Croatia was beaten yesterday, he made a good performance at the World Cup. The defenders, Hernandez from France, I think is always also a good defender, and he made a good performance, although the injury of the other Hernandez. And on Brazil side, Casemiro, I think it seals more the balanced player of the Brazilian team. And if Brazil didn't go much further, I think they have lots of models inside a very tough model that prevents Brazil that going a little bit further. So I think these are the players that really took my mind in this World Cup. But Messi, I think, is one step ahead of all of them.
Okay, Gil, thank you for your time. Thank you. It was my pleasure this morning, and I will call you next time for next matches. Maybe for next qualification when Bosnia and Herzegovina played versus Portugal also.
Okay, this will be my pleasure. David, keep in touch. It was my pleasure.
Okay, see you.
See you. Cheers.